Okay, here is our next math video. It is for pages 118 through 119, adding tenths and hundredths, and we're going to add them as fractions and in decimal form. So here's our boss question. 7/100ths plus something equals 4/10ths. See if you can figure out what that could be. All right, we're going to start with a little review from last time. We compared dimes and pennies to tenths and 100ths. So 4 dimes would be the same as 40 pennies. So 4/10ths, because dimes are tenths, would be the same as 40 100ths, because the pennies are 100ths, the dimes are tenths. So just as a review, yeah, and then 2 dimes plus 3 pennies equals how many pennies if you just made it into pennies? So this would be 20 pennies. So 23 pennies would be 2 dimes plus 3 pennies. So here we've got 2 dimes, 3 pennies equals 23 pennies. So that's if we wrote fractions based on our dimes and pennies. So go ahead and try to write the fraction for each of these equations. And hopefully you have paused the video and tried this. So 3 dimes, I'm going to write as 3/10ths, because dimes are tenths, plus 8 pennies, I'm going to write 8 100ths, because pennies are 100ths of a dollar, equals 38 pennies, 38 100ths. So 3/10ths plus 8 100ths equals 38 100ths. Okay, and then for part B, 7 dimes, 7/10ths, plus 4 pennies, 4 100ths, equals 74 pennies, so I'll write 74 100ths. So we know that 7/10ths plus 4 100ths equals 74 100ths. So that is the coin method of doing that. So now we're going to do a quick fraction addition with pictures. So I'm going to color in one of these at a time. So 4/10ths. So first we will color 4/10ths. Maybe I can make it bigger. There we go. 4/10ths plus 3 100ths. So I'll color in 3 of these squares. So now, when I add them, I'm going to write my answer in hundredths. So these are 4 times 10, it's 40, plus 3 more, 43 100ths. Okay, now let's try the next one. So 5/10ths plus 7 100ths. So I'll color in 5 of these columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a bit messy because of my large pen. And then after I added the 5/10ths, now I'll put in 7 100ths, so 7 of these little boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so for my answer, it'll be out of 100ths, because I don't have an even number of columns. This one is partly filled. So here, 5 times 10 of those little boxes is 50, plus 7 more, 57 100ths. last one. There we go. Okay. Now we have 2/10 plus 1/100th. So I'll color in 2 of these tenths. And then I'll just color in one more square. And so I have 21 out of 100 boxes shaded. So if you wanted to draw a picture or just think about the picture when you're solving this, you can always do that. A picture will always help you. All right. Now we are going to change these fractions into decimals in order to add them. So we can rewrite 3/10 like this, 0.3 plus 5/10, so I'll write 0.5 equals 8/10, 0.8. And then for this one, I can write 0.3 for 3/10, 5/100ths, so this time I'll write 0.05 equals 0.35. Now if you want to add the tenths and hundredths, I don't think we did this before, but you can add them lined up with the tenths. 0/10, 5. Okay, you can actually stack them like this. If that is not helpful, then don't do it right now. Just in case it's helpful, you can do it that way too, by stacking that up. All right. Now we are going to write the decimal based on the picture. So take a second, see if you can figure out what decimal these two pictures represent, and then what the solution would be when you add them. Okay, hopefully you paused the video and gave it a try. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these columns are colored. 7 out of 10, or 0.7. And then here we have 3 out of 100 colored, or 0.03. So if we want to just focus on the decimals, erase that so it's really easy to see. 0.7 plus 0.03 equals 0.73, or 73/100ths. All right. Now we will add with equivalent fractions. So this is just step 1 of making an equal fraction, so it could make it easier for you to add. So for now, just try to do this first part, and then we will do a couple more steps, and we'll get to adding with equivalent fractions. It should make sense once we get a couple steps in here. So 5/10 equals how many 100ths? Well, we added an extra 0 to the tenths. We're going to add an extra 0 on the top. 50/100ths. 9/10 equals 90/100ths. 6/10 equals 60/100ths. 2/10 equals 20/100ths. So these are equal to each other, so they can replace each other when you're adding. So now we are just going to add hundredths. So what's 70/100ths plus 5/100ths? Go ahead and give these a try, and then unpause the video. So here we have 75 100ths, 50 plus 6, 56 100ths, 30 plus 9, 39 100ths. So that's just adding. Oops. There we go. Now we're going to add the tenths and 100ths. So here's where we combine the last two things we did. So 8 tenths plus 3 100ths, the bottoms are not the same. So one thing we can do is make them the same. So 8 tenths is the same as 80 100ths. So 80 100ths plus 3 100ths, so now we're just adding, equals 83 100ths. Go ahead and try the other two if you have not yet paused and tried it. All right, so for part B, we're going to change 2 tenths into 20 100ths, plus 9 100ths, and then we'll just add 20 plus 9, 29 100ths. And for part C, we'll change 6 tenths into 60 100ths, plus 4 100ths, equals 64 100ths. All right, our last part is to add with a word problem. So the school is 6/10 of a kilometer from Lena's house. The library is 8 100ths kilometers farther than the school. How far is the library from Lena's house? She's not allowed to visit it until social distancing is over. Just as a note. All right, so the school, 6/10, so we'll write it like that. The library is farther, so we're going to add to it 8 100ths. Or we can also write it like this, 0.6 plus 0.08. And then if we add those two distances, we'll get 0.68 kilometers. Or if you did it in fractions, 68 100ths of a kilometer. Okay, I've got one more. Okay. 4/10 of Ahmed's pets are cats, and 7 100ths of his pets are snakes. He is the prince. What fraction of his pets are either cats or snakes? So again, we want to know, we know here for cats, gotta find something to write on. Hold on just a sec. Okay. Here's how many cats. He has 4/10 of his pets are cats, and 7/10 are snakes. So we need to know the total of these. 4/10 plus 7 100ths, or 4/10 plus 7 100ths equals 0.47 are cats or snakes. They can't be cats and snakes at the same time, so that's why I say cats or snakes. You can say like this, 47 100ths. So that's just adding. All right, I've got a little bonus section here I almost forgot about. Where did I put that? There we go. Bonus. See if you can fill in the answers to these. And the first two probably are super easy because we just went over it in this lesson. And the next two are just a tiny bit harder. So go ahead and try these. Pause the video. And if you tried it, you probably added 2 plus 3 to get 5/10. And for this, 2/10 plus 3 100ths equals 23 100ths, which we just learned our technique for doing in this lesson. And now for this third one, 4/10 plus something is 9/10. Well, 4 plus 5 equals 9, so we'll make it 5/10. 3/10 plus some number of hundredths is 38/100. Well, that's the same as 30/100. Plus 8 more would make 38/100. So that could help you out with the boss question. It's a bit of a hint. And please write when you are finished with your assignment on the math document, and also please give the mini boss a try.